Section 76 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Alex Foster. January 2007. www.alexfoster.me.uk. Cadences of delirium. Calmness of manner. Calumny of passion. Caprice of inclination. Careless of opinion. Catholicity of spirit. Cause of solicitude. Celerity of movement. Chain of evidence. Change of habitude. Chaos of confusion. Chill of indifference. Chimera of superstition. Chorus of approbation. Circle of hills. Clamour of envy. Clap of thunder. Clarity of thinking. Clash of arms. Cloak of ecclesiasticism. Code of morals. Cogency of argument. Combination of calamities. Command of wit. Community of interest. Compass of imagination. Complexity of life. Confidence of genius. Conflict of will. Conquest of difficulty. Consciousness of peril. Constellation of luminaries. Contagion of conflict. Continuity of life. Contradiction of terms. Contrariety of opinion. Convulsion of laughter. Copiousness of diction. Chord of sympathy. Countenance of authority. Courage of conviction. Course of existence. Courtliness of manner. Cover of hospitality. Crash of thunder. Creature of circumstance. Criteria of feeling. Crown of civilization. Crudity of thought. Cry of despair. Curl of contempt. Current of thought. Darkness of calamity. Dash of eccentricity. Dawning of recognition. Day of reckoning. Daylight of faith. Decay of authority. Declaration of indifference. Deeds of prowess. Defects of temper. Degree of hostility. Delicacy of thought. Delirium of wonder. Depth of despair. Dereliction of duty. Derogation of character. Despoiled of riches. Destitute of power. Desultoriness of detail. Device of secrecy. Devoid of merit. Devoutness of faith. Dexterity of phrase. Diapason of motives. Dictates of conscience. Difference of opinion. Difficult of attainment. Dignity of thought. Dilapidations of time. Diminution of brutality. Disabilities of age. Display of prowess. Distinctness of vision. Distortion of symmetry. Diversity of aspect. Divinity of tradition. Domain of imagination. Drama of action. Dream of vengeance. Drop of comfort. Ductility of expression. Dull of comprehension. Duplicities of might. Dust of defeat. End of section 76. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 77 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echito on January 9th, 2007, in Woodbury, Connecticut. E. Earnestness of enthusiasm. Easy of access. Ebullitions of anger. Eccentricity of judgment. Ecstasy of despair. Effect of loveliness. Efficacy of change. Effusion of sentiment. Elasticity of mind. Element of compulsion. Elevation of sentiment. Eloquence of passion. Emotions of joy. Emulous of truth. Encroachments of time. Encumbrance of mystery. Energy of youth. Enigma of life. Equanimity of mind. era of fads, error of judgment, essence of eloquence, excellence of vision, excess of candor, excitation of purpose, excursiveness of thought, exhibition of joy, exhilaration of spirits, expenditure of energy, explosion of rage, expression of sternness, extension of experience, extravagance of eulogy, extremity of fortune, exuberance of wit. F. Fabric of fact, facility of expression, faculty of perception, failure of coordination, feast of reason, feats of strength, feebleness of purpose, feeling of uneasiness, felicities of expression, fertility of invention, fervor of devotion, fickleness of fortune, field of activity, fierceness of jealousy, fineness of vision, fire of imagination, firmament of literature, firmness of purpose, fit of laughter, fitness of circumstance, fixity of purpose, flag of truce, flash of humor, flashlight of introspection, fleetness of foot, flexibility of spirit, flicker of recognition, flight of fancy, flood of hatred, flourish of manner, flower of life, fluctuation of fortune, flush of youth, flutter of expectation, fog of sentimentalism, force of conviction, forest of faces, form of captiousness, fountain of learning, fragment of conversation, frame of mind, frankness of manner, freak of fancy, freedom of enterprise, frenzy of pursuit, freshness of feeling, frigidity of address, frivolity of tone, frown of meditation, fulfillment of purpose, fullness of time, fury of resentment, futility of pride. End of section 77. This recording is in the public domain. Section 78 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echetoe on January 9, 2007 in Woodbury, Connecticut. G. Gaiety of spirit, gales of laughter, garb of thought, garlands of roses, gateway of fancy, gem of truth, genuineness of sentiment, gesture of despair, gift of repartee, glamour of sensationalism, glare of scrutiny, gleam of light, glib of speech, glimmer of suspicion, glory of salvation, glow of enthusiasm, gorgeousness of coloring, grace of simplicity, gradations of outrage, grandeur of outline, grasp of comprehension, gravity of manner, greatness of nature, greed of office, grimace of disappointment, grimness of spirit, grip of attention, groundwork of melancholy, growth of experience, guide of aspiration, gulf of incongruity, gust of laughter. H. Harbor of refuge, harvest of regrets, haven of rest, haze of distance, heat of enthusiasm, height of absurdity, hint of bitterness, hopeful of success, horizon of life, horror of solitude, hubbub of talk, hue of divinity, hum of pleasure, hush of suspense. Ideals of excellence, idol of society, illusion of youth, immensity of extent, immolation of genius, impatient of restraint, impetuosity of youth, implacability of resentment, impotent of ideas, impress of individuality, impulse of enthusiasm, imputation of eccentricity, incapable of veracity, independence of mind, index of character, indolence of temperament, indulgence of vanity, inequality of treatment, infinity of height, infirmity of temper, infusion of hatred, inheritance of honor, insensibility of danger, insolence of office, inspiration of genius, instability of purpose, instrument of expression, integrity of mind, intensity of faith, interchange of ideas, interval of leisure, intoxication of vanity, intrepidity of youth, intuition of immortality, invasion of thought, irony of life. End of section 78. This recording is in the public domain. Section 79 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echito on January 9th, 2007, in Woodbury, Connecticut. J. Jangle of sounds, jargon of philosophy, jumble of facts, justness of decision. K. Keenness of intellect, kernel of truth, key of knowledge, keynote of success, king of finance, kinship of humanity. L. Lack of restraint, languor of nature, lapse of time, laws of decorum, laxity of mind, legacy of thought, liberty of conscience, light of experience, limit of endurance, link of sequence, loftiness of spirit, look of dominance, loophole of escape, love of approbation, lust of conquest, lustihood of youth, luxuriance of expression. M. Magnanimity of mind, majesty of despair, man of iron, mantle of verdure, martyrdom of ambition, marvel of competency, mask of flippancy, mass of mediocrity, master of phrasing, maze of words, measure of absurdity, minister of vengeance, minuteness of description, miracle of miracles, mists of criticism, modesty of reserve, moment of lassitude, monster of ingratitude, monstrosities of character, mood of tranquillity, muddle of motives, multitude of details, mummery of words, murmur of satisfaction, mutations of time, myriads of stars, mysteries of taste. N. Narrowness of range, nebulae of romance, nectar of enjoyment, neglect of duty, niceties of difference, nightingale of affection, nobility of purpose, note of triumph. O. Obduracy of mind, object of contempt, obligation of loyalty, obliquity of vision, obscurity of twilight, ocean of eloquence, omission of fact, onrush of life, onsets of temptation, openness of mind, opulence of detail, orgy of lying, ornaments of eloquence, outbreak of hostilities, outburst of tears, outflow of sympathy, outposts of morality, overflow of vitality. End of section 79. This recording is in the public domain. Section 80 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echito on January 9th, 2007, in Woodbury, Connecticut. P. Page of desolation, pageant of life, pang of regret, parade of erudition, passion of patriotism, passivity of mind, pattern of virtue, peals of laughter, pendulum of opinion, pensiveness of feeling, perils of fortune, period of lassitude, perturbation of mind, perversity of chance, pests of society, petrifaction of egoism, phantom of delight, phase of belief, physiognomy of nature, piece of pedantry, pinions of eloquence, pinnacle of favor, pit of oblivion, plainness of speech, play of fancy, plea of urgency, plenitude of power, point of view, poise of mind, policy of severity, portent of danger, power of imagination, precipice of stupefaction, precision of phrase, prerogative of age, presence of mind, pressure of expediency, presumption of doubt, prey of fancy, pride of life, process of effacement, profundity of thought, profusion of argument, progress of events, promptings of reason, propriety of action, provocative of scorn, puff of applause, pulse of life, purity of diction, pursuit of knowledge, puzzledom of life. Q. Quagmire of distrust, qualities of leadership, qualm of conscience, question of honor, quickness of apprehension, quivering of pain. R. Radiance of morning, range of experience, rashness of intention, ravages of time, ray of hope, reaches of achievement, realities of life, realm of peace, rebound of fascination, rectitude of soul, redress of grievances, redundance of words, refinement of style, reins of life, relish of beauty, remorse of guilt, residue of truth, resoluteness of conviction, resource of expression, restraint of speech, revel of imagination, revulsion of feeling, richness of outline, riddle of existence, ridicule of ignorance, riot of words, ripeness of wisdom, roars of exultation, robe of humility, robustness of mind, root of individuality, round of platitudes, rush of agony, rust of neglect, ruts of conventionality. End of section 80. This recording is in the public domain. Section 81 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echito on January 9th, 2007, in Woodbury, Connecticut. S. Sadness of soul, sanguine of success, sanity of judgment, savoring of quackery, scantiness of resources, scarves of smoke, school of adversity, scrap of knowledge, scruple of conscience, searchlight of truth, semblance of composure, sensation of pity, sense of urgency, sentiment of disapprobation, sequence of events, serenity of mind, severity of style, shackles of civilization, shade of doubt, shadow of truth, shallowness of thought, shock of apprehension, shouts of approval, shower of abuse, shriek of wrath, shuttle of life, sigh of wind, singleness of purpose, slave of malice, slough of ignorance, slumber of death, smile of raillery, solace of adversity, soul of generosity, source of renown, spark of perception, species of despotism, spell of emotion, sphere of influence, spice of caricature, splendor of imagination, spur of necessity, start of uneasiness, stateliness of movement, sting of satire, stolidity of sensation, storehouse of facts, storm of criticism, stream of humanity, stress of life, string of episodes, stroke of fate, substratum of belief, subtlety of intellect, succession of events, suggestion of fancy, sum of happiness, summit of misery, sunshine of life, supremacy of good, surface of events, surfeit of verbiage, surge of pathos, suspense of judgment, suspicion of flattery, sweep of landscape, symbol of admiration, system of aspersion. End of section 81. This recording is in the public domain. Section 82 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. read for LibriVox.org by Joseph Echito on January 9th, 2007, in Woodbury, Connecticut. T. Taint of megalomania, tardiness of speech, task of conciliation, tempest of passion, tenacity of execution, tenderness of sentiment, term of reproach, threshold of consciousness, thrift of time, thrill of delight, throb of compunction, throng of sensations, tide of humanitarianism, timid of innovation, tincture of depreciation, tinge of mockery, tissue of misrepresentations, tolerant of folly, tone of severity, top of ambition, torrent of fervor, totality of effect, touch of severity, touchstone of genius, trace of bitterness, tradition of mankind, train of disasters, trait of cynicism, trance of delight, transport of enthusiasm, trappings of wisdom, trend of consciousness, tribute of admiration, trick of fancy, tumult of applause, turmoil of controversy, turn of events, twilight of elderliness, twinge of envy. U. Unity of purpose, universality of experience. V. Vagrancy of thought, valley of misfortune, vanguard of progress, vehemence of manner, vehicle of intercourse, veil of futurity, vein of snobbishness, velocity of movement, vestige of regard, vicissitudes of life, vision of splendor, vividness of memory, voice of ambition, void of authority, volume of trade, vow of allegiance. W. Warmth of temperament, waste of opportunity, wave of depression, wealth of meaning, weariness of sorrow, web of villainy, weight of argument, whiff of irritation, whirl of delight, whirligig of life, whirlwind of words, wilderness of perplexities, wiles of innocence, word of opprobrium, work of supererogation, world of fantasy, worth of mention. Y. Yoke of convention. Z. Zest of enjoyment, zone of delusion. End of section 82. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 83 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Colford of JustGiblets.com, Boston, Massachusetts. Preposition by. A. Affected by externals. Allayed by sympathy. Animated by victory. Appraised by fashion. Assailed by conscience. Attained by effort. Avert by prayer. B. Ballasted by brains. Beset by difficulties. Bound by opinion. branded by defeat. C. Characterized by discretion, chastened by sorrow, cheek by jowl, circulated by malice, clogged by insecurity, colored by environment, condemned by posterity, confirmed by habit, consoled by prayer, convinced by argument, convulsed by divisions. D. Darkened by shadows, dazzled by fame, depraved by pain, devoured by curiosity, disgusted by servility, driven by remorse. E. Embarrassed by timidity, encouraged by success, enfeebled by age, enforced by action, enjoined by religion, enriched by gifts, established by convention, evoked by shame. F. Fascinated by mystery, favored by fortune, fettered by systems, fired by wrath, forbid by authority, fortified by faith. G. Governed by precedent, guided by instinct. H. Haunted by visions, hushed by denial. End of section 83. This recording is in the public domain. Recording by Scott Colford of JustGiblets.com, Boston, Massachusetts.
Section 84 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Precious Resch. I. Impelled by duty. Inculcated by practice. Induced by misrepresentation. Influenced by caution. Inspired by love. L. Learned by rote. M. Marked by acuteness. Measured by years. N. Narrowed by custom. O. Occasioned by irritation. Oppressed by destiny. P. Parched by disuse. Persuaded by appeal. Portrayed by words. Prescribed by custom. Prevented by chance. Prompted by poetry. Purged by sorrow. R. Racked by suffering. Refuted by reason. Repelled by censure. Restrained by violence. Rising by industry. S. Sanctioned by experience. Shaped by tradition. Soured by misfortune. Stung by derision. Supplanted by others. Supported by evidence. T. Thwarted by fortune. Tempered by charity. Tormented by jealousy. Tortured by doubt. U. Unadorned by artifice. undaunted by failure, undetermined by sorrow, undone by treachery, unfettered by fear, urged by curiosity. V, vitalized by thought. W, won by aggression, worn by time, wrenched by emotions. End of section 84. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 085 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser, read for LibriVox.org by Precious Fresh. Preposition in. A, absorbed in meditation, affable in manner, atone in measure. B, barren in intellect, basking in sunshine, buried in solitude. C, call in question, clothed in truth, plowing in sweetness, confident in opinion, confute in argument, contemplative in aspect, cumbrous in style. D, deficient in insight, delight in learning, deterioration in quality, difference in detail, diligent in application, diminish in respect, dwarfed in numbers. E, end in smoke, enumerate in detail, experienced in duplicity. F, feeble in influence, fertile in consequence, flourish in luxuriance, founded in truth. G, gaze in astonishment, go in pursuit, graceful in proportion, grievously in error. H, hold in bondage. I, immersed in thought, indulge in reverie, inferior in character, influential in society, ingenuity in planning, instance in point, involved in obscurity. K, kept in abeyance. End of section 85. This recording is in the public domain. Section 86 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser, read for LibriVox.org by Precious Resch. L, landmarks in memory, languish in obscurity, lie in wait, limited in scope, linger in expectation, listen in amazement, lost in awe, lower in estimation, luxuriant in fancy. M, monstrous in dullness, mysterious in origin. N, noble in amplitude, nursed in luxury. O, organized in thought. P, petulant in expression, plead in vain, pleasing in outline, plunged in darkness, positive in judgment, practical in application, pride in success, protest in vain, pursued in leisure. Q, quick in suggestion. R, ready in resource, recoiling in terror, remote in character, revel in danger, rich in variety, rooted in prejudice. S, schooled in self-restraint, scrupulous in conduct, set in motion, skilled in controversy, sound in theory, stammer in confusion, stricken in years, strides in civilization, striking in character, stunted in growth. T, tender in sentiment. U, unique in literature, unity in diversity, unprecedented in kind. V, burst in knowledge. W, wallow in idolatry, wanting in dignity, waver in purpose, weak in conception. End of section 86. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 87 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. Preposition into. Abashed into silence. Beguile into reading. Betray into speech. Blending into harmony. Bring into disrepute. Bullied into silence. Burn into memory. Burst into view. Call into question. Carry into conflict. Chill into apathy. Coming into vogue. Cringe into favor. Crumbled into dust. Crystallized into action. Dash into fragments. Deepen into confusion. Degenerate into monotony. Deluded into believing. Descent into death. Dissolve into nothingness. Dragged into pursuit. Drawn into controversy. Dribbling into words. Driven into servitude. Dulled into acquiescence. Electrify into activity. Elevated into importance. Inquire into precedence. Enter into controversy. Expand into weakness. Fade into insignificance. Fall into decay. Fashion into festoons. Flame into war. Flower into sympathy. Forced into action. Frozen into form. Fuse into unity. Galvanize into life. Go into raptures. Goaded into action. End of section 87. This recording is in the public domain. Section 88 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. Hushed into silence, incursions into controversy, insight into truth, inveigled into dispute, kindle into action, lapse into pedantry, lash into silence, launch into disapproval, lead into captivity, leap into currency, lulled into indifference, melt into space, merge into character, pass into oblivion, plunge into despair, pour into print, quicken into life, relapse into savagery, rendered into music, resolve into nothingness, retreat into silence, ripened into love, rush into print, shocked into attention, sink into insignificance, smitten into ice, snubbed into quiescence, stricken into silence, summoned into being, swollen into torrents, take into account, thrown into disorder, transform into beauty, translated into fact, usher into society, vanish into mystery, wonder into digression, wheedled into acquiescence, withdraw into solitude. End of section 88. This recording is in the public domain. Section 89 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. Addicted to flattery, adherence to principle, affect to believe, akin to truth, alive to opportunity, allied to virtue, amenable to reason, aspire to rule, attempt to suppress, aversion to publicity, blind to demonstration, brought to repentance, claim to perpetuity, come to nothing, committed to righteousness, common to humanity, conducive to happiness, conformable to fact, consigned to oblivion, constrained to speak, contribution to knowledge, deaf to entreaty, dedicated to friendship, deference to custom, devoted to ideals, disposed to cable, doomed to destruction, driven to despair, dwarfed to unimportance, empowered to act, endeared to all, excite to pity, exposed to derision, fly to platitudes, foredoomed to failure, given to extravagance, ground to atoms, harassed to death, hostile to progress. End of section 89. This recording is in the public domain. Section 90 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. Impervious to suggestion, impossible to reconcile, impotent to save, incentive to devotion, incitement to anger, inclined to vacillate, indifference to truth, intent to deceive, intolerable to society, inured to fatigue, invocation to sleep, laugh to scorn, left to conjecture, lost to remembrance, obedience to conscience, oblivious to criticism, offensive to modesty, open to reason, opposed to innovation, pander to prejudice, pertaining to fashion, prone to melancholy, propose to undertake, provoke to laughter, put to confusion, recourse to falsehood, reduce to impotence, related to eternity, repeat to satiety, repugnant to justice, requisite to success, resort to violence, run to seed, seek to overawe, serve to embitter, spur to action, stimulus to ambition, stirred to remonstrance, subject to scrutiny, succumb to fascination, superior to circumstances, susceptible to argument, temptation to doubt, tend to frustrate, trust to chance, utilize to advantage, venture to say, vital to success, wedded to antiquity, yield to reason. End of section 90. This recording is in the public domain. Section 91 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. Preposition with. Abounding with plenty. Accord with nature. Act with deliberation. Adorn with beauty. Afflict with ugliness. Aflame with life. Allied with economy. Anticipate with delight. Ascertain with exactness. Attended with danger. Beam with self-approval. Behave with servility. Big with fate. Blinded with tears. Blush with shame. Branded with cowardice. Bubbled with laughter. Burn with indignation. Cling with tenacity. Clothe with authority. Compatible with freedom. Comply with tradition. Conceal with difficulty. Consistent with facts. Covered with ignominy. Crush with sorrow. Deny with emphasis. Depressed with fear. Dispense with formality. Distort with passion. Echo with merriment. Endow with intelligence. Endued with faith. Endure with fortitude. Examine with curiosity. Face with indifference. Flushed with pride. Fraught with peril. Furious with indignation. Glowing with delight. Imbued with courage. Incompatible with reason. Inconsistent with beauty. Inflamed with rage. Inspired with patriotism. Intoxicated with joy. End of section 91. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 92 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Katie Sim in Edinburgh, Scotland. K. Kindle with enthusiasm. L. Laugh with glee. M. Meet with rebuke. Mingled with curiosity. Move with alacrity. O. Oppressed with hardship. Overcome with shyness. Overflowing with love. Overhung with gloom. P. Performed with regularity. Pervaded with grandeur. Proceed with alertness. Punish with severity. Q. Quicken with pride. Quiver with anxiety. R. Radiant with victory. Regard with loathing. Relate with zest. Repel with indignation. S. Saddle with responsibility. Scream with terror. Scrutinize with care. Seething with sedition. Sick with dread. sob with anguish, squirm with delight, suffuse with spirituality, tainted with fraud, teeming with life, tense with expectancy, thrill with excitement, throb with vitality, tinged with romance, touched with feeling, treat with contempt, tremble with fear. You, unmixed with emotion, utter with sarcasm. Thee, vibrant with feeling, view with awe. W, wield with power, work with zeal. End of section 92. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 93 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser, read for LibriVox.org by Karen Savage. Business phrases. A. A request for further particulars will not involve any obligation. A telegram is enclosed for your use, as this matter is urgent. Accept our thanks for your recent remittance. Acknowledging the receipt of your recent inquiry. After examination, we can confidently say, after very carefully considering, again thanking you for the inquiry, agreeable to our conversation, an addressed envelope is enclosed for your convenience. An early reply will greatly oblige. Answering your recent inquiry. Any information you may give us will be appreciated. Any time that may suit your convenience. As a matter of convenience and economy. As a special favor we ask. As directed in your letter, we are shipping to you. As explained in our previous letter. As it will give us an opportunity to demonstrate our ability. As stated in our previous letter. As we have received no response from you. As you doubtless are aware. As you probably have been told. As your experience has probably shown you. Assuring you of every courtesy. Assuring you of our entire willingness to comply with your request. Assuring you of prompt and careful cooperation. At the present writing. At the suggestion of one of our patrons. At your earliest opportunity. Awaiting the favor of your prompt attention. Awaiting the pleasure of serving you. Awaiting your early communication. Awaiting your further commands. Awaiting your pleasure. B. Believing you will answer this promptly. C. Complying with your request. Conditions make it obligatory for us. D. Do not hesitate to let us know. Do not overlook this opportunity. Do you realize that you can? E. Enclosed, please find a memorandum. Enclosed, we beg to hand you. Enclosed, you will find a circular which will fully explain. F. For some years past. For your convenience, we enclose a stamped envelope. For your further information, we take pleasure in sending to you. Frankly, we believe it is extremely worthwhile for you. From the standpoint of serviceability. H. Here is a complete answer to. Here is your opportunity. Hoping for a continuance of your interest. Hoping for a definite reply. Hoping that our relations may prove mutually satisfactory. Hoping to be favored with your order. How may we serve you further? However, because of the special circumstances attached. I am compelled to inform you. I am confident that you will be thoroughly satisfied. I am directed to say to you, I am, gentlemen, yours faithfully. I am giving the matter my personal attention. I am, my dear sir, yours faithfully. I am still holding this offer open to you. I ask that you be good enough. I beg to request that you give me some information. I believe I understand perfectly just how you feel about. I have been favourably impressed by your. I have now much pleasure in confirming. I have pleasure in acknowledging. I have the honour to acknowledge the receipt. I have the honour to remain. I herewith submit my application. I highly appreciate this mark of confidence. I look forward to pleasant personal relations in the future. I regret exceedingly to inform you. I remain, my dear sir, yours faithfully. I shall be pleased to forward your descriptive circulars. I shall esteem it a personal favour. I should welcome an interview at your convenience. I sincerely hope that you will give the subject your earnest consideration. I take pleasure in replying to your inquiry concerning. I trust I shall hear from you soon. I want to express the hope that our pleasant business relations will continue. I want to interest you. I want to thank you for your reply. I wish to confirm my letter. If I can be of further service, please address me. If it is not convenient for you, if there is any valid reason why you are unable, if we can be of service to you, if we can help you in any way, if we have not made everything perfectly clear, please let us know. If you accommodate us, the favour will be greatly appreciated. If you are interested, please let us hear from you. If you are thinking about ordering, if you desire, our representative will call. If you have any cause for dissatisfaction, if you give this matter your prompt attention, in accordance with the terms of our offer, in accordance with your request, in answering your inquiry regarding. In any event, a reply to this will be very much appreciated. On closing, we can only assure you, in compliance with your favour, in compliance with your request, we are pleased to send to you. In conclusion, we assure you, in order to facilitate our future transactions, in reference to your application, in regard to your proposition, in reply thereto, we wish to inform you, in reply to your valued favour, in response to your recent request, in spite of our best efforts, it is not probable, in thanking you for the patronage with which you have favoured us, in view of all these facts, we feel justified in claiming. Information has just reached me. It gives us pleasure to recommend. It has consistently been our aim to help our customers. It is a matter of great regret to us. It is a pleasure for me to answer your inquiry. It is a well-known fact. It is interesting to note. It is our very great pleasure to advise you. It is the policy of our house. It seems clear that our letter must have miscarried. It was purely an oversight on our part. It will be entirely satisfactory to us. It will be our aim to interest you. It will be readily appreciated. It will be to your advantage. It will doubtless be more convenient for you. It will interest you to know. It will receive the same careful attention. J. Just mail the enclosed card. K. Kindly endorse your reply on the enclosed sheet. Kindly let us have your confirmation at your earliest convenience. Kindly let us know your pleasure concerning. Kindly read the enclosed list. L. Let me thank you for the opportunity to give this matter my personal attention. Let us assure you of our desire to cooperate with you. Let us assure you that we are very much pleased. Let us know if there is any further attention. Let us thank you again for opening an account with us. Looking forward to the early receipt of some of your orders. M. May I ask you to do us a great favour by? May we be favoured with a reply? Meantime soliciting your forbearance. Meanwhile permit me to thank you for your kind attention. O. On referring to your account we notice our letter must have gone astray. Our relations with your house must have hitherto been very pleasant. Our services are at your command. Our stock has been temporarily exhausted, owing to our inability to collect outstanding debts. P. Permit me to add. Permit us to express our sincere appreciation. Please accept the thanks of the writer. Please consider this letter an acknowledgement. Please favour us with a personal communication. Please feel assured that we shall use every endeavour. Possibly the enclosure may suggest to you, promptly on receipt of your telegram, pursuant to your letter. R. Recently we had occasion. referring to your esteemed favour, regretting our inability to serve you in the present instance, reluctant as we are to believe, requesting your kind attention to this matter. S. Should you decide to act upon this latter suggestion, so many requests of a similar nature come to us, soliciting a continuance of your patronage. T. Thank you for your expression of confidence. Thank you for your inquiry. Thank you for your last patronage. Thanking you for your promptness. Thanking you in advance for an early reply. Thanking you in anticipation. The causes for the delay were beyond our control. The margin of profit which we allow ourselves. The proof is in this fact. The proposition appeals to us as a good one. Therefore we are able to make you this offer. Therefore we trust you will write to us promptly. These points should be most carefully considered. This arrangement will help us over the present difficulty. This is according to our discussion. This matter has been considered very seriously. This personal guarantee I look upon as a service to you. This privileged communication is for the exclusive use. This will amply repay you. Trusting that we may have the pleasure of serving you. Trusting to receive your best consideration. You. Under no circumstances can we entertain such an arrangement. Under separate cover we are mailing to you. Under these circumstances we are willing to extend the terms. Unfortunately we are compelled at certain times. Unless you can give us reasonable assurance, upon being advised that these terms are satisfactory, upon receiving your letter of W. We acknowledge with pleasure the receipt of your order. We admit that you are justified in your complaint. We again solicit an opportunity. We again thank you for your inquiry. We always endeavour to please. We appreciate the order you are kind enough to send to us. We appreciate your patronage very much. We are always glad to furnish information. We are anxious to make satisfactory adjustment. We are at a loss to understand why. We are at your service at all times. We are confident that you will have no further trouble. We are extremely desirous of pleasing our patrons. We are in a position to give you considerable help. We are in receipt of your communication regarding. We are indeed sorry to learn. We are perfectly willing to make concessions. We are pleased to receive your request for information. We are pleased to send you descriptive circulars. We are reluctant to adopt such severe measures. We are satisfied regarding your statement. We are sending to you by mail. We are sorry to learn from your letter. We are thoroughly convinced of the need. We are totally at a loss to understand. We are very anxious to have you try. We are very glad to testify to the merit of. We ask for a continuance of your confidence. We ask that you kindly let us hear from you. We assume that you are considering. We assure you of our confidence in the reliability. We assure you of our desire to be of service. We await an early, and we trust a favourable reply. We await the courtesy of an early answer. We beg a moment of your attention and serious consideration. We believe that if you will carefully consider the matter, we believe you will readily understand our position. We can assure you that any order with which you favour us. We desire information pertaining to your financial condition. We desire to effect a settlement. We desire to express our appreciation of your patronage. We desire to impress upon you. We expect to be in the market soon. We feel assured that you will appreciate. We feel sure that you will approve of our action in this matter. We frankly apologize to you. We hasten to acknowledge the receipt. We have anticipated a heavy demand. We have as yet no definite understanding. We have come to the conclusion. We have endeavored to serve the needs of your organization. We have found it impossible. We have much pleasure in answering your inquiry. We have no desire to adopt harsh measures. We have not had the pleasure of placing your name on our ledgers. We have not, however, had the pleasure of hearing from you. We have not yet had time to sift the matter thoroughly. We have the honor to be, gentlemen. We have the honor to inform you. We have thought it best to forward. We have your request for information regarding. We hesitated for a while to pursue the matter. We hope that an understanding can be reached. We hope that we shall have many opportunities to demonstrate our ability. We hope that you will find the enclosed booklet very interesting. We hope to hear favorably from you. We hope you will appreciate. We hope you will excuse the unavoidable delay. We invite your attention to. We must insist upon a prompt settlement. We must, therefore, insist on the terms of the agreement. We note that the time is at hand. We offer you the services of an expert. We particularly want to interest you. We realize that this matter has escaped your attention. We realize that this is simply an oversight on your part. We regret exceedingly that you have been inconvenienced. We regret our inability to meet your wishes. We regret that owing to the press of business, we regret that this misunderstanding has occurred. We regret that we are not in a position. We regret that we are unable to grant your request. We regret the necessity of calling your attention. We regret to be compelled for this reason to withdraw the privilege. We regret to learn that you are disappointed. We remain, dear sir, yours faithfully. We remain, gentlemen, with thanks. We shall await your early commands with interest. We shall await your reply with interest. We shall be glad to fill your order. We shall be glad to have you tell us frankly. We shall be glad to render you any assistance in our power. We shall be happy to meet your requirements. We shall be indebted to you for your courtesy. We shall be pleased to receive the remittance. We shall be pleased to take the matter up further. We shall do everything in our power. We shall do our best to correct the mistake. We shall feel compelled. We shall heartily appreciate any information. We shall use every endeavour. We suggest that this is an opportune time. We suggest that you consider. We take pleasure in enclosing herewith. We take pleasure in explaining the matter you asked about. We take the liberty of deviating from your instructions. We take the liberty of writing to you. We thank you for calling our attention. We thank you for your courteous letter. We thank you for your kind inquiry of recent date. We thank you very gratefully for your polite and friendly letter. We thank you very much for the frank statement of your affairs. We thank you very sincerely for your assistance. We think you will agree. We trust our explanation will meet with your approval. We trust that we may hear favourably from you. We trust that you will give this matter your immediate attention. We trust you may secure some of the exceptional values. We trust you will find it correct. We trust you will not consider us unduly strict. We trust you will promptly comply with our previous suggestions. We understand your position. We urge that you write to us by early mail. We venture to enclose herewith. We very much wish you to examine. We want every opportunity to demonstrate our willingness. We want particularly to impress upon you this fact. We want to please you in every respect. We want to remind you again. We want you to read the booklet carefully. We will at once enter your order. We will be compelled to take the necessary steps. We will be glad to lay before you the fullest details. We will be pleased to give it careful consideration. We will gladly accommodate you. We will gladly extend to you similar courtesies whenever we can do so. We will make it a point to give your correspondence close attention. We would appreciate a remittance. We would consider it a great favour. We would draw your attention to the fact. We would request, as a special favour, we write to suggest to you. We write to urge upon you the necessity. We wrote to you at length. While we appreciate the peculiar circumstances, while we feel that we are in no way responsible, why not allow us this opportunity to satisfy you? Will you give us in confidence your opinion? Will you give us the benefit of your experience? Will you kindly advise us in order that we may adjust our records? Will you please give us your immediate attention? With our best respects and hoping to hear from you. With reference to your favour of yesterday. With regard to your inquiry. With the fullest assurance that we are considering. With the greatest esteem and respect. Why? You are certainly justified in complaining. You are evidently aware that there is a growing demand. You are quite right in your statement. You cannot regret more than I the necessity. You undoubtedly are aware. You will find interest, we believe, in this advance announcement. You will get the benefit of this liberal offer. You will have particular interest in the new and attractive policy. Your early attention to this matter will oblige. Your further orders will be esteemed. Your inquiry has just been received, and we are glad to send to you. Your orders and commands will always have our prompt and best attention. Your satisfaction will dictate our course. Your trial order is respectfully solicited. Your usual attention will oblige. End of section 93. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 094 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser, read for LibriVox.org by Lee Elliott in April of 2007. A bitterness crept into her face. A blazing blue sky poured down torrents of light. A book to beguile the tedious hours. A brave but turbulent aristocracy. A broad, complacent, admiring imbecility breathed from his nose and lips. A burlesque feint of evading a blow. A callous and conscienceless brute. A calm and premeditated prudence. A calmness settled on his spirit. A campaign of unbridled ferocity. A carefully appraising eye. A ceaselessly fleeting sky. A certain implication of admiring confidence. A charming air of vigor and vitality. A childish belief in his own impeccability. A cold, hard, frosty penuriousness was his prevalent characteristic. A compassion perfectly angelic. A constant stream of rhythmic memories. A covertly triumphant voice. A creature of the most delicate and rapid responses. A crop of disappointments. A cunning intellect, patiently diverting every circumstance to its design. A curious and inexplicable uneasiness. A curious vexation fretted her. A daily avalanche of vituperation. A dandified, pretty boy-looking sort of figure. A dark and relentless fate. A day monotonous and colorless. A dazzling completeness of beauty. A deep and brooding resentment. A delicious throng of sensations. A deliciously tantalizing sense. A detached segment of life. A dire monotony of bookish idiom. A disheveled and distraught figure. A face singularly acute and intelligent. A faint accent of reproach. A faint sense of compunction moved her. A faint, transient, wistful smile lightened her brooding face. A faint tremor of amusement was on his lips. A faintly quizzical look came into his incisive stare. A fawn-colored sea streaked here and there with tints of deepest orange. A fever of enthusiasm. A few tears came to soften her seared vision. A fiery exclamation of wrath and disdain. A figure full of decision and dignity. A firm and balanced manhood. A first faint trace of irritation. A fitful boy full of dreams and hopes. A flame of scarlet crept in a swift diagonal across his cheeks. A fleeting and furtive air of triumph. A flood of pride rose in him. A foreboding of some destined change. A fortuitous series of happy thoughts. A frigid touch of the hand. A fugitive intangible charm. A gay exuberance of ambition. A generation of men lavishly endowed with genius. A gentle sarcasm ruffled her anger. A ghastly whiteness overspread the cheek. A glance of extraordinary meaning. A glassy expression of inattention. A glassy stare of deprecating horror. A glittering, infectious smile. A gloom overcame him. A golden haze of pensive light. A golden summer of marvelous fertility. A graceful readiness and vigor. A grave man of pretending exterior. A great pain gripped her heart. The great process of searching and shifting. The great sickness of heart smote him. A great soul, smitten and scourged, but still invested with the dignity of immortality. A grim and shuddering fascination. A gush of entrancing melody. A gusty breeze blew her hair about unheeded. A half-breathless murmur of amazement and incredulity. A half-uneasy, half-laughing compunction. A harassing anxiety of sorrow. A harvest of barren regrets. A haunting and horrible sense of insecurity. A heavy oppression seemed to brood upon the air. A helpless anger simmered in him, a hint of death in the icy breath of the gale. A hot and virulent skirmish. A hot uprush of hatred and loathing. A kind of ineffable splendor crowns the day. A lapse from the well-ordered decencies of civilization. A large, rich, copious human endowment. A late star lingered, remotely burning. A laugh of jovial significance. A light of unwonted pleasure in her eyes. A little jaded by gastronomical exertions. A lukewarm and selfish love. A man of imperious will. A man of matchless modesty and refinement. A manner bright with interest and interrogation. A manner nervously anxious to please. A melancholy monotone beat on one's heart. A mere exhibition of fussy diffuseness. A mere figment of poet's fancy. A mien and aspect singularly majestic. A mild and deprecating air. A mind singularly practical and sagacious. A mouth of inflexible decision. A murmur of complacency. A mystery everlastingly impenetrable. A nameless sadness which is always born of moonlight. A new and overmastering impulse. A new doubt assailed her. A new marvel of the sky. A new trouble was dawning on his thickening mental horizon. A nimble-witted opponent. End of section 094. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 95 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Joe Brenneman. A painful thought was flooding his mind. A pang of jealousy not unmingled with scorn. A patience worthy of admiration. A perfect carnival of fun. A perfect crime of clumsiness. A piteous aspect of woe. A portent full of possible danger. A potion to be delicately supped at leisure. A powerful agitation oppressed him. A prevailing sentiment of uneasy discomfort. A prey to listless uneasiness. A profound and absorbing interest. A profound and eager hopefulness. A profound and rather irritating egotist by nature. A prop for my faint heart. A propitious sky marbled with pearly white. A protest wavered on her lip. A puissant and brilliant family. A queer, uncomfortable perplexity began to invade her. A quick flame leaped in his eyes. A quick shiver ruffled the brooding stillness of the water. A quiver of resistance ran through her. A remarkable fusion of morality and art. A random gleam of light. A rare and dazzling order of beauty. A rhythmical torrent of eloquent prophecy. A river of shame swept over him. A sad inquiry seemed to dwell in her gaze. A satisfied sense of completeness. A secret sweeter than the sea or sky can whisper. A sensation of golden sweetness and delight. A sense of desolation and disillusionment overwhelmed me. A sense of infinite peace brooded over the place. A sense of meditative content. A sense of repression was upon her. A sentiment of distrust in its worth had crept into her thoughts. A sheaf of letters. A shimmer of golden sun shaking through the trees. A shiver of apprehension crisped her skin. a shuffling compromise between defiance and prostration, a sigh of large contentment, a sight for the angels to weep over, a skepticism which prompted rebellion, a slight movement of incredulous dissent, a smile full of subtle charm, a smile of exquisite urbanity, a soft insidious plea, a soft intonation of profound sorrow, a soft suspicion of ulterior motives. A solemn glee possessed my mind, a solemn gray expanse that lost itself far away in the gray of the sea, a solemn utterance of destiny. A somber and breathless calm hung over the deepening eve, a somewhat melancholy indolence, a somewhat sharp and incisive voice. A sonorous voice bade me enter. A soothing and quieting touch was gently laid upon her soul. A sort of eager, almost appealing amiability. A sort of stolid, despairing acquiescence. A sort of stunned incredulity. A soundless breeze that was little more than a whisper. A spacious sense of the amplitude of life's possibilities. A staccato cough interrupted the flow of speech. A state of sullen self-absorption. A steady babble of talk and laughter. A step was at her heels. A stifling sensation of pain and suspense. A stinging wind swept the woods. A strange compound of contradictory elements. A stream of easy talk. A strong convulsion shook the vague indefinite form. A strong susceptibility to the ridiculous. A subtle emphasis of scorn. A sudden and stinging delight. A sudden gleam of insight. A sudden uncontrollable outburst of feeling. A superabundance of boisterous animal spirits. A supercilious scorn and pity. A super-refinement of taste. A swaggering air of braggadocio. A sweet bewilderment of tremulous apprehension. A sweet, quiet, sacred, stately seclusion. A swift knowledge came to her. A swift, unformulated fear. A swiftly unrolling panorama of dreams. A tangle of ugly words. A thousand evanescent memories of happy days. A thousand unutterable fears bore irresistible despotism over her thoughts. A time of disillusion followed. A tiny stream meandering amiably. A tone of arduous admiration. A torn and tumultuous sky. A total impression ineffable and indescribable. A tragic futility. A treacherous throb of her voice. A true similitude of what befalls many men and women. A tumult of vehement feeling. A tumultuous rush of sensations. A twinge of embarrassment. A vague and wistful melancholy. A vast sweet silence crept through the trees. A veritable spring cleaning of the soul. A very practiced and somewhat fastidious critic. A violent and mendacious tongue. A vivid and arresting presentation. A waking dream overshadowed her. A weird world of morbid horrors. A well-bred mixture of boldness and courtesy. A wild vivacity was in her face and manner. A wile of the devils. A wind strayed through the gardens. A withering sensation of ineffable boredom. A wordless farewell. End of section 95. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 96 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Ken Crooker. On the web at kencrooker.com. Absolutely vulgarized by too perpetual a parroting. Absorbed in a stream of thoughts and reminiscences. Absorbed in the scent and murmur of the night. Accidents which perpetually deflect our vagrant attention. Across the gulf of years. Administering a little deft though veiled castigation. Affected an ironic incredulity. affecting a tone of gaiety. After a first moment of reluctance, after an eternity of resolutions, doubts, and indecisions, aghast at his own helplessness, agitated and enthralled by daydreams, agitated with violent and contending emotions, alien paths and irrelevant junketings, all embrowned and mossed with age, all her gift of serene immobility brought into play. All hope of discreet reticence was ripped to shreds. All the lesser lights paled into insignificance. All the magic of youth and joy of life was there. All the place is peopled with sweet airs. All the sky was mother of pearl and tender. All the unknown of the night and of the universe was pressing upon him. All the world was flooded with a soft golden light. All was a vague jumble of chaotic impressions. All was incomprehensible. All was instinctive and spontaneous. Aloof from the motley throng, ambition shivered into fragments. Amid distress and humiliation, amid the direful calamities of the time, an acute note of distress in her voice, an agreeably grave vacuity, an air half quizzical and half deferential, an air of affected civility, an air of being meticulously explicit, an air of inimitable, scrutinizing, superb impertinence, an air of stern, deep, and irredeemable gloom hung over and pervaded all, an air of uncanny familiarity, an air which was distinctly critical, an almost pathetic appearance of ephemeral fragility, an almost riotous prodigality of energy, an answering glow of gratitude, an antagonist worth her steel, an artful stroke of policy, an assumption of hostile intent, an assurance of good nature that forestalled hostility, an atmosphere of extraordinary languor, an atmosphere thick with flattery and toadyism, an attack of peculiar virulence and malevolence, an audacious challenge of ridicule, an avidity that bespoke at once the restlessness and the genius of her mind. An awe crept over me, an eager and thirsty ear, an easy prey to the powers of folly, an effusive air of welcome, an equal degree of well-bred worldly cynicism, an erect, martial, majestic, and imposing personage. An eternity of silence oppressed him, an expression of mildly humorous surprise, an expression of rare and inexplicable personal energy, an exquisite perception of things beautiful and rare, an iciness, a sinking, a sickening of the heart, an ignoring eye, an impenetrable screen of foliage, an impersonal and slightly ironic interest, an impervious beckoning motion, an inarticulate echo of his longing, an increased gentleness of aspect, an incursion of the loud, the vulgar, and meretricious, an inexplicable and uselessly cruel caprice of fate, an inexpressible fervor of serenity, an ingratiating, awkward, and wistful grace, An inspired ray was in his eyes. An instant she stared unbelievingly. An intense, an insatiable hunger for light and truth. An intense travail of mind. An obscure thrill of alarm. An odd little air of penitent self-depreciation. An open wit and recklessness of bearing. An oppressive sense of strange, sweet odor. An optimistic after-dinner mood. An overburdening sense of the inexpressible. An uncomfortable premonition of fear. An unfailing sweetness and unerring perception. An unpleasant and heavy sensation sat at his heart. An unredeemed dreariness of thought. An unsuspected moral obtuseness. An utter depression of soul. And day peers forth with her blank eyes. And what is all this pother about? Animated by noble pride. Anticipation painted the world in rose. Appalled in speechless disgust. Appealing to the urgent temper of youth. Apprehensive solicitude about the future. Ardent words of admiration. Armed all over with subtle antagonisms. Artless and unquestioning devotion. As if smitten by a sudden spasm. As the long train sweeps away into the golden distance. August and imperial names in the kingdom of thought. Awaiting his summons to the eternal silence. End of section 96. This recording is in the public domain. Recorded in April of 2007 in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. Section 97 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Ken Crooker. On the web at kencrooker.com. Bandied about from mouth to mouth. Barricade the road to truth. Bartering the higher aspirations of life. Beaming with pleasurable anticipation. Before was the open malignant sea. Beguiled the weary soul of man. Beneath the cold glare of the desolate night. Bent on the lofty ends of her destiny. Beset by agreeable hallucinations. Beset with smiling hills. Beside himself in an ecstasy of pleasure. Betokening an impulsive character. Beyond the farthest edge of night. Birds were fluting in the tulip trees. Biting sentences flew about. Black inky night. Blithe with the bliss of the morning. Blown about by every wind of doctrine. Bookish precision and professional peculiarity. Borne from lip to lip. Borne onward by slow-footed time. Born with the faculty of willing compromise. Bowed with a certain frigid and deferential surprise. Broke in a stupendous roar upon the shuddering air. Browsing at will on all the uplands of knowledge and thought. Buffeted by all the winds of passion. Buried hopes rose from their sepulchres. Buried in the quicksands of ignorance. But none the less peremptorily. By a curious irony of fate. By a happy turn of thinking. By virtue of his impassioned curiosity. carried the holiday in his eye, chafed at the restraints imposed on him, cheeks furrowed by strong purpose and feeling, childlike contour of the body, cleansed of prejudice and self-interest, cloaked in prim pretense, clothed with the witchery of fiction, clutch at the very heart of the usurping mediocrity, cold gaze of curiosity, collapse into a dreary and hysterical depression, comment of rare and delightful flavor, conjuring up scenes of incredible beauty and terror, conscious of unchallenged supremacy, constant indulgence of wily stratagem and ambitious craft, contemptuously indifferent to the tyranny of public opinion, covered with vegetation and wild luxuriance, crisp sparkle of the sea, crystallize about a common nucleus, cultivated with a commensurate zeal, current play of light gossip, curtains of opaque rain, dallying in maudlin regret over the past, dark with unutterable sorrows, darkness oozed out from between the trees. Dawn had broken. Day stood distinct in the sky. Days of vague and fantastic melancholy. Days that are brief and shadowed. Deep shame and rankling remorse. Deficient in affectionate or tender impulses. Delicately emerging stars. Delicious throng of sensations. Despite her pretty insolence, dignity and sweet patience were in her look. Dim opalescence of the moon, dimly foreshadowed on the horizon, dimmed by the cold touch of unjust suspicion, disfigured by the passages of solemn and pompous monotony, disguised itself as chill critical impartiality, dismal march of death, distinguished by hereditary rank or social position, distract and beguile the soul, distressing in their fatuous ugliness, diverted into alien channels. Diverting her eyes, she pondered. Dogs the footsteps, doled out in miserly measure. Doubt tortured him. Doubts beset her lonely and daring soul. Down the steep of disenchantment, dreams and visions were surpassed. Dreams that fade and die in the dim west. Drear twilight of realities. Drift along the stream of fancy. Drowned in the deep reticence of the sea. Drowsiness coiled insidiously about him. Dull black eyes under their precipice of brows. End of section 97. This recording is in the public domain. Recorded in April of 2007 in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley.
Section 98 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser. Read for LibriVox.org. E. Earth danced under a heat haze. Easily moved to gaiety and pleasure. Either way her fate was cruel. Embraced with ardor the prospect of serene leisure. Endearing sweetness and manner. Endeavoring to smile away his chagrin. Endlessly shifting moods. Endowed with all those faculties that can make the world a garden of enchantment, endowed with life and emphasis, enduring with smiling composure the near presence of people who are distasteful, enjoyed with astonishing unscrupulousness, enticed irresistibly by the freedom of an open horizon. Essay a flight of folly, evanescent shades of feeling. Events took an unexpected sinister turn. Every curve of her features seemed to express a fine arrogant acrimony and harsh truculence. Everywhere the fragrance of a bountiful earth, exasperated by what seemed a wilful pretense of ignorance, exhibits itself in fastidious crotchets. Expectation darkened into anxiety. Experience and instinct warred within her. Exquisite graciousness of manner. Exquisitely stung by the thought. F. Familiar and enduring intimacy. Fatally and indissolubly united. Fathomless depths of suffering. Fear held him in a vice, feeding his scholarly curiosity, feeling humiliated by the avowal. Felicitousness in the choice and exquisiteness in the collocation of words, fettered by poverty and toil, feverish tide of life, fine precision of intent, fitful tumults of noble passion, fleeting touches of something alien and intrusive, floating in the clouds of reverie, fluctuations of prosperity and adversity, flushed with a suffusion that crimsoned her whole countenance. Forebodings possessed her, foreshadowing summer's end, forever echo in the heart, forever sings itself in memory, formless verbosity and a passionate rhetoric, fragments of most touching melody, free from rigid or traditional fetters, freedom and integrity of soul, freighted with strange, vague longings, frosty thraldom of winter, fugitive felicities of thought and sensation, full of dreams and refinements and intense abstractions, full of majestic tenderness. G. Gathering all her scattered impulses into a passionate act of courage. Gaze dimly through a maze of traditions. Generosity pushed to prudence. Gleams of sunlight, bewildered like ourselves, struggled, surprised, through the mist and disappeared. Glowing with haste and happiness. Go straight, as if by magic, to the inner meaning. Goaded on by his sense of strange importance. Graceful length of limb and fall of shoulders. Great shuddering seized on her. Green hills pile themselves upon each other's shoulders. Grim and sullen after the flush of the morning, guilty of girlish sentimentality. End of section 98. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 99 of 15,000 Useful Phrases by Grenville Kleiser, read for LibriVox.org by David Best. Half choked by a rising paroxysm of rage, half suffocated by his triumph, hardened into convictions and resolves. Haughtiness and arrogance were largely attributed to him. Haunt the recesses of the memory. Haunted with a chill and unearthly foreboding, he accosted me with trepidation. He adroitly shifted his ground. He airily lampooned their most cherished prejudices. He bowed submission. He braced himself to the exquisite burden of life. He condescended to intimate speech with her. He conversed with a colorless fluency. He could detect the hollow ring of fundamental nothingness. He could do absolutely naught. He drank of the spirit of the universe. He drew near to a desperate resolve. He evinced his displeasure by a contemptuous sneer or grim scowl. He felt an unaccountable loathing. He felt the ironic rebound of her words. He flung diffidence to the winds. He flushed crimson. He found the silence intolerably irksome. He frowned perplexedly. He gave her a baffled stare. He gave himself to a sudden daydream. He gave his ear to this demon of false glory. He grew wanton with success. He had acted with chivalrous delicacy of honor. He had the eye of an eagle in his trade. He had the gift of deep, dark silences. He held his breath in admiring silence. He laughed away my protestations. He lent no countenance to insensate prattle. He listened greedily and gazed intent. He made a loathsome object. He made the politest of monosyllabic replies. He murmured a civil rejoinder. He murmured a vague acceptance. He mused a little while in grave thought. He never wears an argument to tatters. He only smiled with fatuous superiority. He paused, stunned and comprehending. He perceived the iron hand within the velvet glove. He raised a silencing hand. He ruled autocratically. He sacrificed the vulgar prizes of life. He sat on thorns. He shambled away with speed. He sighed deeply from a kind of mental depletion. He smote her quickening sensibilities. He submitted in brooding silence. He suppressed every sign of surprise. He surrendered himself to gloomy thought. He threaded a labyrinth of obscure streets. He threw a ton's weight of resolve upon his muscles. He threw out phrases of ill humor. He threw round a measuring eye. He treads the primrose path of dalliance. He used an unguarded adjective. He was a tall, dark, saturnine youth, sparing of speech. He was aware of emotion. He was born to a lively and intelligent patriotism. He was dimly mistrustful of it. He was discreetly silent. He was empty of thought. He was entangled in a paradox. He was giving his youth away by handfuls. He was haunted and begirt by presences. He was measured and urbane. He was most profoundly skeptical. He was nothing if not grandiloquent. He was quaking on the precipice of a bad billows attack. He was utterly detached from life. He went hot and cold. He would fall into the blackest melancholies. He writhed in the grip of a definite apprehension. He writhed with impotent humiliation. Her blank gaze chilled you. Her bright eyes were triumphant. Her eyes danced with malice. Her eyes dilated with pain and fear. Her eyes were full of wondering interest. Her eyes were limpid, and her beauty was softened by an air of indolence and languor. Her face stiffened anew into a gray obstinacy. Her face was lit up by a glow of inspiration and resolve. Her haughty step waxed timorous and vigilant. Her head throbbed dangerously. Her heart appeared to abdicate its duties. Her heart fluttered with a vague terror. Her heart pounded in her throat. Her heart was full of speechless sorrow. Her hurrying thoughts clamored for utterance. Her imagination recoiled. Her interest flagged. Her life had dwarfed her ambitions. Her limbs ran to marble. Her lips hardened. Her lips parted in a keen expectancy. Her mind was a storehouse of innocuous anecdote. Her mind was beaten to the ground by the catastrophe. Her mood was unaccountably chilled. Her musings took a sudden and arbitrary twist. Her scarlet lip curled cruelly. Her smile was faintly depreciatory. Her smile was linked with a sigh. Her solicitude thrilled him. Her stare dissolved. Her step seemed to pity the grass it pressed. Her strength was scattered in fits of agitation. Her stumbling ignorance, which sought the road of wisdom. Her thoughts outstripped her erring feet. Her tone was gathering remonstrance. Her tongue on the subject was sharpness itself. Her tongue stumbled and was silent. Her voice had the coaxing inflections of a child. Her voice trailed off vaguely. Her voice was full of temper, hard held. Her voice, with a tentative question in it, rested in air.